Thank you so much for joining us. It's very unusual to see you in Kiev, but I think I'm going to start with first question about you personally and your group. I think that in maybe recent 20 years, Pussy Riot is the most successful cultural expert from Russia abroad. And it's kind of a bit sad to see that, you know, from the beginning of 90s, Russia does not produce anything that makes cultural impact. Although before, Russia was a huge producer of art, and any expert, cultural expert, was immensely huge, even up to the late Soviet times. Why do you think that Russia at the moment is, well, cultural wasteland, and do you even agree with this characterization?
I don't think that everything is so bad as you describe it. The problem, which really has a problem with institutions, and that's why we don't have institutions which could translate art, which we have actually, like Piotr Pawlensky, or in 90s we had this bright cultural moment of actionist art, like Brenner and Kulik, Smolovsky, movement Zaibi. But the problem with our country is that we never had enough time to build institutions. So in 90s we started to do it, and some art institutions started to be built, but with Putin time it was worse and worse. And probably you know this action of young pro-Putin movement in the beginning of 2000s when they built this huge toilet and put the books of Vladimir Sorokin there inside of this toilet. Vladimir Sorokin, one of the best artists which I ever saw, which I ever read. He's Russian. He's writing literature, and it's postmodern literature, but he's filling the air. And he's really political now. So when you told me that there is no art right now in Russia, I couldn't agree with you.
I'm saying that there are a lot of art, but Russia is not successful at exporting, and you know the whole world is not mesmerized by the Russian art. Nobody knows actually Russian artists anymore. Everybody knows you, but you're again one of the rare examples, if not the only one.
I know a lot of people who read Vladimir Sorokin in America, so it's not so bad as you describe it. But
it's highly political.
In the beginning of 20th century, it was a great institution, which was built during revolutionary time, and obviously that's why our art was so impactful. Then in 10 years, it was killed. All artists were killed, but in 20s we had this great time of empowerment of art and women and everybody.
Your art is very political, right? So it has a lot of messaging, that it's not only about just art as per se, but also a lot of messaging when it comes to feminism, when it comes to queer culture, when it comes to political freedoms in Russia. But I was just wondering if you do an art that it also bears with itself political message, do you kind of concerned that the majority of Russian public does not resonate with your art? Because again, you're more popular abroad than inside Russia.
I think it's kind of natural, because it was the reason why I decided to do my art. And when you start to do political art, you want it because you have desire to change something, and obviously you are not satisfied with the current situation. So I'm not the type of artist who just want to be praised and blah blah blah. Because when you're a political artist, you have to be ready that people will not like you just because they don't understand what the fuck is going on, like why, and. We break not just political rules, but quite often aesthetical rules. And we break their understandings of people what normality is. We're not just political in close sense, like we are political in sense of Michel Foucault. So we try to work with the sense, what is norm, where is the borders. So obviously people don't like to be shocked. So obviously they don't like us, but I'm not money. I couldn't be loved by everybody.
Oh, sure.
That's fine.
If you're pushing boundaries. But I wanted to ask about this process of, we started with cultural processes in Russia, but it's also a kind of very sad process of a social regress, right, in Russia, especially in recent 10, maybe 5 years. And a lot of comes to the freedom of expression, a repression of queer people in Russia, which I find very odd, this focus on specifically queer culture. But you devote a lot of time to queer culture in your art. Why do you think that, as I remember, and I've been living in Russia for some time, I remember people, I met people who moved to Russia in the 90s because Russia was the most liberal place for queer people in the whole region. It still kind of is, but you know, with the state repression, it's not anymore. Why do you think that?
We still have queer parties and so.
Yeah, but it's not going anywhere in terms of civil rights, for example.
Sure.
I find it very mesmerizing example of
it's
Russia.
like America in the 50s.
Exactly. But in 90s, it was like almost America in 90s. So what happened, and do you think that it's a larger picture of just possibility of going into regress so quickly? Because it's shocking, actually.
It's not a question of regress. I mean, it's just because we're living in dictatorship, so everything which we could really speak about, like, it's not regress in our country, it's regress in the brain of one particular person, and his name is Vladimir Putin. It is his personal regress, and because of his power, he could spread this regress on all country. But actually, as I saw from my own experience, I was in jail for 2 years, so I saw that at least 70% of women around me, they weren't against lesbian relationships. Like 30% of them were up for go to lesbian relationships, and 70% were completely okay with that. So I would say that Russian people are not so conservative as Putin wants them to portray.
Well, especially if you're in prison, you know, all those things
that... It's not just because of prison.
No, because all things surrounding you, social pressure is not there anymore, so you can be actually yourself at some point.
You have a lot of pressure in prison. You have a lot of social pressure in prison still. It's another type of pressure. I spoke with a lot of people from small cities, and actually we are quite, I would say that our women is quite liberated. And our girls are quite liberated.
Because of Soviet Union. Even
sexually liberated. But another problem which we have, we don't have any sexual education. So that's why it causes some problems.
That's horrible. I saw just one article just yesterday, 5 myths that Russia propagates about LGBT. One of them is that image of rainbow can turn your kid into gay kid. So it's horrible. Cool. it's horrible that in the era of internet people keep believing that. The last question is going to be about the region as a whole. You're in Kiev right now, in Ukraine, and after the revolution, after the Maidan revolution, a lot of people were kind of expecting of Ukraine becoming this fortress of free speech, fortress for all oppressed from Russia or from the region coming together and being free and actually building up a future for their own repressed countries or expanding this freedom around the region. A lot of people say that didn't happen, unfortunately, in the last 2 years. What's your impression? Because you travel here and you can see some progress or not.
Yeah, my impression is that a lot of things changed, but you couldn't expect to change everything just in one moment. It just doesn't work like that. Obviously, you still have here a lot of problems with corrupted politicians, with politicians who care about their pocket and nothing else. But I think it's not the reason to be disappointed. It's the reason to work more and be politically involved more and more and more, and to ask your politician to do what you want and not what they want. But a lot of things changed. The problem is that when you just apply the law, you couldn't expect that it will change everything. You need to change the whole system of applying this law. So that's why it's time-consuming process.
Have you seen a lot of local artists lately? Because sometimes they complain about the same things, that sometimes they feel more liberated when they travel abroad and their art is more appreciated. They're more popular, people keep shopping on Ukrainian art, but here inside the country, literally nobody knows them or cares about them.
No, I didn't communicate a lot with Ukrainian artists. I mean, I communicated a lot with people who do cinema here, and they told me that they're running through kind of crisis.
What kind of crisis?
Because they don't have jobs.
Okay, yeah.
But they're amazing, and we did great piece of art here, and it was done almost without money, and it was done just by passion, just political passion, and it was so amazing. And everybody could speak Russian language around me, and at some point I was like, I'm just living in another Russia. Like, so I felt myself like I'm still in Russia, but everybody not saying me like, no, I couldn't work with you because of that reason, because of Putin, because I will be fired from job. No, here is opposite. So now here is like a kind of paradise for me, because it's country where I can understand this culture because we are really close, and people can understand me, but we have really close political goals with them. So that's why I think I will come back here and we'll do more things.
Come back on Hromadske too. Thanks a lot.